back to Red Rock to potentially get some more levels. Now, unfortunately, the baboon on the left side, it was all on its own. So I would have actually preferred like just a screen of baboons rather than just one legendary baboon. But we got what we got. Now we can get some more EXP off of these guys. So, not very threatening. Our Snapjaw is just going at them, having no difficulty whatsoever. At this point, I forget that I'm not strong, but my Snapjaw is. Sometimes it's easy to mistake your follower's strength for your own, and I was just kind of ignoring the baboons, which I can't do. I will get killed very, very quickly. So I've cleared out the baboons. It's time for Red Rock. Now, dungeon exploration with a follower is kind of scuffed. They're always going to be behind you, which makes it difficult because you really rely on them to fight everything. So you kind of gotta finagle your way around all the enemies in here. Now you also want to make sure that you're not getting forcefully moved places. So you'll see me clearing out some of this, these fear thorn things. So luckily the bat body blocks for me because my dude just goes balls deep into the cave. The followers tend to do that. They tend to aggro on the back enemies, the enemies in the back, rather than the closest thing, which is sort of annoying. So part of this challenge is getting the followers to do what you want them to do. Which doesn't always happen, especially on the aggressive style that I tend to put them on. At least early, the more aggressive style is good to have, just because you can get a follower that's just so much stronger than everything else, and you just have him dive in and tank all the aggro and kill everything like he's doing in there. But as you saw, the Jilted Lovers are scary. They can grab you, and since our strength is god-awful, we'll likely get stuck, and we can't get away, so we just gotta kill. So I'm looking for a sword. I've actually found one there, but it seems like I didn't notice. It seems I found a second one there. Because I have the longsword skill, but I am currently holding a short blade. So it's at this point that I notice that the follower has a named item, and I sit here for a second and I'm thinking, when did I get a named item, and when did I give that to this guy? Because I was looking at what equipment he had so that I could change it out. So this is the run where I learned that followers can actually name items, just like you can, whenever they level up, or otherwise get inspired. which I did not know. It takes me a little bit longer before I actually figure this out. And now right now, I'm just super confused as to what the heck that is. It's the two-handed steel axe that our dude has named. So stairs are annoying. I've figured them out a little bit better in later runs, but getting your followers to attack on the stairs is not always the easiest thing. And you can just see how incredibly weak we are. We cannot even fight a giant centipede at level 8. Not even a chance. We just get dumpstered. So I play some peekaboo with the Snapjaw Warrior, and we're on our way. Now, one thing that you're noticing me doing, I find another longsword there. Don't pick it up. Sure. One thing that you're noticing me doing is that I'm attacking mostly with my bow. And that's because it just does way more damage, more reliably than the, well, any melee weapon that I'm going to have. With 10 starting agility, I cannot hit anything. And with 10 starting strength, even if I do hit something, chances are I'm just not gonna do any damage. So even in melee range, the bow is the best option that I got. Now, if you are the developer, one thing that I would ask for you to change is how the campfires work. So, if campfires are nearby a enemy, you can't cook. It makes sense. But if there's a campfire within a massive radius, then you have to go to that campfire. If you say no, it does the same thing as cancel. You just don't get to cook. If you say no, you should be able to put the campfire where you want to put it instead of having to go back across the map to the other campfire. Why? Now, I get lit on fire here, which means that there is another legendary Snapjaw. So once again, we've got our fighter against their fighter. We pit them against each other. Now, I'm out of the way because I don't want to get set on fire, as you can see right there. But our guy does it just fine. He is totally okay. He took like no damage whatsoever. Now, these sandals of the River Wives actually give some extra movement speed. So I noticed that he does not have any boots on, so he will equip these. So I'm hoping that he will be able to keep up with me a little bit better, because remember, I have heightened quickness. So he's lagging behind. I have 121 quickness, you can see by the top there, which is pretty insane. You can see that it does not take much to knock me out. I'm using some of the best armor that I can find right now. So I want my dude to move in and attack them from here, but because we haven't explored the path between the light sources, he says no, so I have to explore first. And then he goes in, he dives in and kills everything. Now, we get down to this lower area here with all the asphalt. I hate this generation. It's super annoying because you can't run away, especially not with low strength. So what I'm doing here is I'm picking up all the asphalt that's underneath me and I'm pouring it next to me. So that way there is a clear tile on the stairs. Because if there's not, then if you had to run away, if there was something that you just couldn't fight, you had to get away. If you walk in that asphalt on the stairs, then you will likely get stuck if you are low strength, as this run is. So that's a death sentence, because if you're stuck, you can't even move up the stairs. You just can't move. Your DV is -10. You're getting ripped to shreds. So super important that I do that here. So now I have the critic corpse. So that quest is done, essentially. I see my Snapjaw is a little wounded. That's okay. I'll heal it up, and broken. I want to greed for the artifact. I really want that sphere of negative weight. If you've noticed, my carrying capacity is just absolutely terrible. It's painful. So I really want, I really want more inventory space. So I've got my second mutation here at level 9. Triple jointed is really good. Ego projection, absolutely terrible, because my ego is going to be fuck all for most of the game. Freezing Ray is an interesting choice. It's definitely a helpful mutation to have right now, because it increases my killing ability without a follower, but the stats are just too enticing. So I go ahead and go with the stats. Agility is a great stat to have, and it's especially important for the late game of this run. You're not killing a chrome pyramid with shit agility, at least not easily. So I definitely want to have some good agility for when we get there. I think I'm just looking again at whatever the heck that named item is. I am so mystified by it at this point. I have absolutely no clue what that is. Yeah, so you can see how easily I'm getting stuck in this tar. Super annoying, super dangerous. If I hadn't cleared that out, I might have even died from that. This floor of red rock is probably my least favorite to clear out. I've been lucky so far, but this floor tends to have quite a few young ivory. And at this point in the run, I have not been a believer of the witchwood bark. So I'm instead relying mostly on bandages, as I, bought some in town. But young ivory here are just super deadly. They could very easily kill me. They can do up to 10 damage. There's the young ivory right there. Luckily it hit my follower, who can tank it easily. But the main problem with the ivory is the bleed. So my toughness is terrible. And the bleed save uses toughness. So you end up bleeding for 10 million turns because you can never save from the bleed. So they're pretty dangerous. Any bleed is dangerous, but young ivory in particular, because they just instant hit you with tons of damage. Now these tunnels are scary. Even though I have a pretty godly follower in the Snapjaw, well, there's one of the scary things, the electrofuge. This thing can just one-shot me, just super easily. It just discharges on my face and I instantly die. It's that easy. That thing is that, yeah, it's scary. Yeah, no, don't want to mess with that. So that's one of the, so this is where I figure out what the fuck this thing is. And it's the axe. But in addition to the electrofuge, we've got some other pretty scary items, or enemies. First off is the slug snout. So that thing has quite a bit of HP and super accurate and tends to do tons and tons of damage in from far away. Super dangerous. There's been quite a few instances of slug snouts ending these runs. They're very deadly. The other super dangerous enemy is the glow moth. So the glow moth is similar to the slug snout in most ways. I don't know if it actually has more accuracy or not, but it seems like it does have more accuracy. It at least does consistently very high damage to me no matter what. So don't super know why that is, but it's very dangerous. A little bit less dangerous than the slug snout though, just because it has a lot less HP. And then we've also got the slumberling. So there's commonly slumberlings here. Now your followers won't attack them when they're asleep, even if they're set on aggressive. So we don't have to worry too much about that. But what you do have to worry about is other enemies, especially these stupid bats, just flying up to them and attacking them while they're asleep, getting absolutely dumpstered, and then having the slumberling go on a rampage and killing everything. That is terrifying, because they have both sprint and charge, and they can catch up to you really easily. And so definitely very scary. And then, in addition to those things, we also have the quillipede, which is pretty dangerous because quills just hit. They don't care about your dodge value. They will hit, and they do quite a bit of damage. And melee reflection is no joke. Especially with this melee dude that I've got following me around. So we've got some really dangerous stuff in here. Normally I would go through the entire tunnel and pop up back in Joppa, but it's just the enemies that you're finding in here are just not worth it. They're way too dangerous at this point in the game for me to just chilling here. We can level up in much safer ways than fighting these dudes. But like I said, I want to greed for that sphere of negative weight. I super want that. So Salt Hopper, not super dangerous, but here's the Slug Snout. So it seems to be aggroed on my follower, which is good for me. But I don't know where it is, so I'm sending him up to hopefully attack. But the Slug Snout is aggroed on me, it hits me, but I'm just gonna get as far away as possible to let the ranged accuracy do its thing. The farther away you are, the less accurate you are, even if you are a Slug Snout. And luckily that worked. It only hit me once. But yeah, those things are super dangerous. Luckily, our guy is pretty strong, so I was able to kill it without too much difficulty. So these null worms aren't as scary as some of the other enemies that I mentioned, but 2 of them at once is not good, especially when it comes next to the eyeless crab, which is just super tanky, so it's taking up all my followers' attention. A good intimidate there, that's a second clutch intimidate of this run, gets the eyeless crab away and the null worms away, just giving me enough breathing room to kite things around for our follower to finish things up. I try to pull my weight here, but this giant centipede is just messing me up. You are so weak without any mutations or any stats. You are unbelievably weak. And here I'm upset with the campfire because I want it down there, but there's another campfire and I just give up. Our follower has seen something and is going balls deep once again. I'm not sure what it was. It's probably an eyeless crab since it took a while, didn't do any damage to him, and I got a bunch of experience. But always being careful on the first exploration of these tunnels to not get too far over your head. So I'm considering upgrading triple jointed, and I do it here. Now, upgrading mutations versus getting new ones in this run. This is a pretty early run, so I'm still playing around with what exactly I should want, and I'm just getting destroyed by something in the dark here. I'm still playing around with what I want, like what mutations are really good and which ones are not as good, and whether I upgrade or whether I take new ones. But the stats are just so important in this run because, I mean, you just don't have any. So every stat that you get is pretty meaningful. And not even catching you up with a curve, but just like staying even. We're super weak. We will eventually get strong enough to catch up with like later game enemies, but not in the way that we want. We see a glow moth, so there's and a slug snout, so we're just all of the enemies that we don't want to see, we're seeing right now, and our follower is doing whatever the fuck he's doing with this jilted lover. But luckily, He gets his head over his ass and fights those enemies for us. That could have been really, really bad. Two ranged enemies, two dangerous ranged enemies. They could just 1-2 punch destroy me. But luckily that didn't happen. And there's another slug snout. That's the third one. These tunnels are so dangerous. I just want to get out of here. I just want my sphere, man. That's all I want. I'm waiting for my friend, but he is just not doing anything. So come fight, please. He seems to not like the web. He's afraid of it. Terrified. So we can see at the bottom a light, and I couldn't quite see the white corpse, but that's a good sign. So there's a lot of enemies here, so I just decided to let the Snapjaw wail on me because it's the weakest, and just let the follower clean up. But we saw a light down there at the bottom of the tunnel, and that's a good sign because that light is typically from the miner's helmet that gets dropped with the miner's gear and the sphere of negative weight. So we're batting 100% on enemies that we don't want to see. The only enemy that we don't want to see that we haven't seen is the Slumberling, and that is probably the easiest one to get around. So I pull my weight by fighting off the Centipede, while the follower takes on the Quillipede, a much more dangerous enemy. It seems like I've actually accidentally hit the Beetle Bomb, so I need to back off from that because I cannot fight it. And hopefully our follower is able to clean up. And somehow the Quillipede has fallen behind. I see that our follower is injured, yellow HP. That's surprising. That's the first time I've seen him really get hurt by a single enemy, just like a single normal enemy. And I check him here. I'm in disbelief. This dude is wounded from the Quillipede. That is spooky. Because as far as I know, that was just one Quillipede. Of course, there was a Beetle Bum in there too, but he seemed to be doing fine. But that Quillipede was messing him up. So I see the white corpse now down there at the bottom. So I see my treasure in sight. Just gotta clear out the thin strip between me and it. We are in the home stretch here. My follower seems to have gone in again. I can see him now, so I'm not super worried. Whenever he goes where I can't see, that's where I get a little scared. And this cannibal is not backing off. So I see him getting attacked by there, and now I'm getting attacked. Yeah, we need to back him off. I see he's in red HP, so something was absolutely messing him up. Not a good sign. He dives in once again. I see the 325 drop, so it was a Quillipede. Whatever was attacking him, messing him up, that was a Quillipede. For some reason, I'm exploring down here. I'm honestly getting a little cocky. Whereas I should just beeline towards the sphere and book it out. I'm feeling strong just because this guy is strong, but it's a false positive because he's getting destroyed by these Quillipedes. Exploring in the corner gets me attacked by the young ivory. So half the bandage, it did 10 damage, which is its max. The first bandage did not kill the bleed. Well, the second bandage did. And we see that our guy has just gone in once again. So I have the sphere, I've got the miner's helmet, and the pickaxe is also a super important item that I have just totally forgotten on. Now I want him to wear the miner's helmet so that I can see where he is, but he decides that he doesn't want to wear it. I do want the gnawworm skull just because it gives me plus ego, and at this point I'm thinking about getting higher ego, but it seems like I've prioritized the light a little bit more here. So eventually, I prioritize the light because I can get the longsword. I want a reliable weapon here. I, for some reason, decided that it's a good idea to continue exploring. This is a super dangerous area, and I am not giving it the respect that it deserves. At this point, I am still used to my normal runs where this area is a bit of a joke. And I'm feeling strong because of my follower. And get maybe a little too overconfident. We got some gnawworms running in. With this two-handed sword, it's got a +1 to its penetration, which is the main reason why I want it. Two-handed weapons are super, super good for me because my penetration is dog shit anyways. So any way that it can be increased is super, super useful.